As the Russia-Ukraine war begins to get heated, everyone is called to the front lines to serve their country, including Serhiy, a surgeon. The movie opens up in a paintball arena where Serhiy's daughter is celebrating her birthday. He surprises his daughter and ex-wife by showing up at the arena after his shift at the hospital, before handing them the presents that he had brought for them. Just as his daughter goes inside the arena to play, Serhiy grabs a cup of coffee with his ex-wife's husband, Andriy. Andriy tells Serhiy that he looks tired, to which he replies that he was on a night shift and had back-to-back surgeries due to the ongoing war. Then, he asks Andriy how everything is on the front lines, and he tells Serhiy that the Russians have been sending heavy artillery, making it difficult to defend themselves. When Serhiy asks him if they have doctors with them, Andriy tells him that they have 3 or 4 doctors assigned to each battalion. They have to travel a few kilometers to reach the medical camp where surgeons are available. In November of 2014, during the first year of the Russia-Ukraine war, Serhiy finds himself in the operation theater, operating on a man who had been wounded due to a mine blast. All the surgeons take turns performing CPR to try and resuscitate the patient. Sometime later, despite their efforts, the man is pronounced dead. He goes out of the operation theater where he is told that they have multiple patients waiting outside since the hospital no longer has any space to keep the wounded. A few days later, Serhiy gets off from work and takes his daughter out to watch a movie. The two of them sit inside his car as the movie plays outside. When the movie shuts off due to the heavy rain, she tells him that Andriy is leaving to join the men at the front lines again. When she had insisted on him staying back, he had told her that if everyone chose to stay back, the war would reach them soon. Just as Serhiy agrees with Andriy, she questions why he had chosen to stay back if the war was getting closer to them. However, he does not have an answer for her and chooses to remain quiet. Before they leave, she tells him that he will be more useful in the city rather than in the front. After dropping his daughter off, he goes back to his apartment and sits there as he contemplates Polina's question about his choice to stay back. The scene cuts to soldiers inside a military vehicle driving through unmarked tracks. Serhiy, who was also in the vehicle, and was guiding the driver, tells him that he has lost connection and that they need to find a way out themselves. After a few minutes of driving, Serhiy asks the driver if they have been going in circles, but without lights around them or proper connection. He does not know for sure. Soon, they arrive at a checkpost that Serhiy claims has an airfield behind it. He then notices that there is something strange about the checkpost and instructs the driver to cut off the vehicle's headlights. The driver decides to get out of the vehicle to check what is going on when all of a sudden, the soldiers on the other end start firing and kill him. Serhiy, who had ducked to avoid getting hit by the bullets, immediately jumps into the driver's seat and begins driving away, but an explosion near the vehicle causes it to overturn and he loses consciousness. In the morning, a captured Serhiy is presented to a Russian chief of prison who begins asking him questions. He takes Serhiy's cell phone and goes through it. Then, he asks Serhiy what his occupation was, to which he replies that he was a general surgeon. When Serhiy refuses to answer any more questions, the chief of the prison instructs his men to torture him. A few soldiers enter the room and electrocute him. Then, he is taken to a dark room where he is washed down with cold water. Once he is hosed down, he is told to put his wet clothes back on, after which he is pushed into a torture chamber where he notices a bloody man lying on a torture bed. The chief asks him to check if the man is alive. Serhiy checks the man's pulse and tells him that he is dead. The chief stabs the corpse and orders his men to take him to the ward and dispose of the corpse. Serhiy finds himself locked inside a small cell with only a small dirty bed and a wash basin. He starts shivering from the cold and finds a jacket lying in the corner. He wears it before washing the blood off his hands. This is when he notices a piece of broken tile behind the basin and picks it up. He tries hiding it in his jacket. Then, as he lays down on the bed, he begins cutting his neck. The next morning, a truck labeled humanitarian aid from the Russian Federation is opened by Serhiy and a Russian soldier. They dump the body inside a machine and burn it. Later that day, Serhiy is taken to witness yet another torture. He is surprised to find that the man tied up is Andriy, but refuses to show any acknowledgement, knowing that this will get both of them killed. The chief, who had been torturing him, asks him for information about the battalion that he belonged to. Andriy refuses to speak. Then, the chief asks him the names of the locals who had helped him, but he remains quiet. When he refuses to give any answers, the chief picks up a drill and drills a hole in his leg. He is tortured until he is on the brink of death and unconscious. As the chief leaves the interrogation room, he asks Serhiy to check on him. Serhiy checks his pulse and tells the chief that he is almost dead. Just as everyone leaves the integration room, Serhiy immediately gets to work and cuts the ropes binding Andriy. He lays him down and checks his pulse again. When Andriy does not move, he grabs Andriy's neck and strangles him to death. Once again, Serhiy is ordered to dispose of the body by burning it. He goes outside towards the truck, but the Russian soldier with him tells him that he is late and the machine is out of gas, so they can't burn the body. He then holds up an artificial hip joint and tells Serhiy that he found it after he had burned one of the bodies and asks if he can sell it. Serhiy tells him that although the joint costs several thousand euros, it is not worth much now. As the two of them sit down, Serhiy comes up with an idea to save Andriy from being burned and tells him that if he wants to make money, he should hide the body, and once the war is over, he can ask family for money in exchange for the bodies. The soldier agrees and loads Andriy's body into the truck and takes him into the city where he can hide his corpse. Afterward, he is taken into another room where the chief makes him record a confession so that they cannot be charged with any war crimes. Just as Serhiy begins talking, the chief interrupts him and tells him to make sure he gets the lines right. If he does not, he will be forced to defend the Russian Federation. He also threatens him and tells him that if he tells anyone about what he saw there, he will be caught and tortured again. Serhiy instantly agrees and begins talking again as he is recorded and says that he had illegally entered the Donetsk People's Republic territory to carry out a terrorist attack. He claims that he was detained by the Security Ministry of DPR and that he has no complaints against them. The chief then tells him that he is free to go. That night, Serhiy is transported along with several other prisoners for an exchange. After a successful exchange of prisoners, Serhiy makes his way back to his apartment where he lays down on the couch and falls asleep. The next morning, he meets with his daughter and ex-wife. While his daughter plays in the snow, his ex-wife tells him that she had seen another list of prisoner exchanges, but there was still no sign of Andriy on any of them. Serhiy decides to not tell her the truth about Andriy, in the hopes that he can remain with his family. She then asks him if their daughter can stay with him for a few days since she is busy with work. Once he agrees, she asks him if he would like to join her broadcast and talk about his days in captivity. However, he refuses and tells her that he is not ready to talk about it yet. That day, he takes their daughter back to his apartment and she wonders if Andriy will ever come back. He tells her that it is likely that he is already dead. His daughter spends the next few days sad about Andriy not being alive. She tells her father that Andriy had promised to sign her up for horseback riding classes but had now gone missing. Knowing that his daughter and ex-wife will continue waiting for Andriy to return, he decides that he needs to reveal Andriy's dead body. In the morning, he goes outside and finds a few books lying outside and grabs a child's Bible for his daughter. The next day, Serhiy goes for a jog, and when he reaches a secluded part of the track, he calls the Russian soldier that he had told to hide Andriy's body. He tells him that he has transferred half of the money, and now he needs to send the coordinates of the body's location to the family. Before he cuts the call, he tells the soldier on the other end that he will transfer the rest of the amount when the family gets the body. Serhiy then breaks the cell phone and throws it away before going back home. One morning, he takes his daughter for horseback riding. There, while training, she falls off the horse and breaks her arm. Serhiy takes her to the hospital and gets her arm checked out. She tells him that she is getting punished for burning the Bible that he had gotten for her. Seeing his daughter so sad, he surprises her with the drone that she had asked Andriy to buy for her. Surprised, she tells him that this was the one that she had been asking for. He puts it together for her and shows her how to fly it before taking her back to his apartment. Meanwhile, his ex-wife gets a call telling her that her husband's body has been found. She asks Serhiy to accompany her as she goes to retrieve his body. Once their daughter goes to bed, they go to the coroner's office and take Andriy's body home. With his body safely with his family, Serhiy returns to an empty apartment and cries for everything that he had lost as a result of the war. Then, he pulls himself together and goes out for a run. All of a sudden, he hears dogs behind him. As he tries to take out his stun gun to scare them away, the dogs attack him until men playing polo nearby notice him. One of them scares the dogs away and asks Serhiy if he is okay. The scene cuts to men and women coming up on a stage and guessing who is behind them from the sound of their footsteps. When Serhiy comes up, he manages to recognize his daughter. Then, he stands with his daughter as she recognizes her mother. Everyone around them begins clapping and a man thanks everyone for joining them for training. The movie ends with Serhiy embracing his daughter and his wife, and leaving the training as a family. If you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help the channel out. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.